All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball here for Week 10 edition of Sunday Chat. Definitely got a lot of great games to get into this week. As you know, my Rams are on bye, so I get to really just focus on everyone else. So, Christian, I guess let's just get it started right away with the news of the week.
Yeah, so we got some pretty important news to cover and some updates. So obviously one of the recent ones that kind of the big ones of the league right now, which is Bill Belichick's job at stake right now. Robert Kraft did announce earlier this week that with the loss today, his job could be in stake. So he is on the hot seat. Well, he's technically been on the hot seat for the past couple of weeks. And Bill Belichick, being one of the greatest coaches, to ever coach in this league, you never really expect him to be on the hot seat, but now obviously with the downfall of the Patriots on how they're doing with the lack of how Mac Jones is doing with the team, you really expect them to do more, especially coming up from the first one for the Patriots, trying to overcome what Brady has done. But fortunately, just nothing has done what really expected. I mean, I had them missing playoffs. So kind of call that them not really going to do anything this season. They didn't expect them to be this bad, but regardless of that, loss today, Bill Belichick, he could potentially be fired.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's kind of been seen for a while. I mean, you think, sure, you don't expect a guy like Bill Belichick to be on the hot seat, but when his production has been going down this much in the past years, you can see why. Of course, we'll move it into another news from the higher ups with the Panthers owner in David Tepper, who has recently been giving a lot of reports that he seems pretty disgruntled at the team's output, calling the offense boring, predictable, and lifeless at times. But I mean, there's only so much you can really think. I mean, you gave up, think about your future and your top receiver for the chance at taking your franchise quarterback. And I mean, sure, we still don't know what Bryce Young can amount to because he's got such a horrible team around him. So I mean, Tepper definitely does have to look back into the consideration that it's going to be a work in progress. You're going to be shit for a couple years, and eventually we'll see once they actually do get their draft capital back, who they can pick up or what moves can be made in the future. But it's definitely going to be a work in progress, and not really any reason to make these comments to begin with.
Yeah, honestly, I feel that was a bonehead move from the owner. I mean, let alone, you hired Matt Rule. Not Matt Rule, Frank Reich, which he's not cutting out on me.
Yeah, he also hired Matt Rule in the past. Both of his last hires have been pretty shit. So
yes, but for currently right now, Matt Rule.
Of course, I'm just saying, his recent hires.
Yeah, it's just his recent hires have not been well. So really, I'd rather him take accountability for the team struggles. And moving on to staying with the NFC side is a notable arrest too with Michael Thomas. He was recently arrested and booked in for apparently throwing a brick at a worker. Early this week. Yeah, at a car especially. This is one that I really didn't expect. But I mean, Derek Carr. Already some of his receivers already getting into jail. I know some ones like Antonio Brown. Now Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, and then Henry Ruggs. I'm not honestly, just a funny narrative out there that Derek Carr's receiver ones always get into trouble. Unfortunately, it's just a coincidence. But this is very, very surprising for the Saints, especially with Michael Thomas, not playing football in 2 years and then finally coming back decently healthy. But honestly, this could potentially be the end of Thomas's career with the Saints, regardless, since he was arrested, and I think his tenure was coming to an end. He's a little washed, especially because of the injuries, which kind of putting him down. But this should be a good sign for Derek Carr. See more receivers can get open for him.
Yeah, not really much to say. I definitely don't think it's that detrimental to his time on the Saints. I don't think it would have mattered whether this would happen or not. I think he was near the tail end, but we'll see. We'll see what speculation that comes out of and who the Saints probably do end up moving forward to. Of course, got one more. This is more mainstream. I know, obviously, Christian, you're not as much into the college game, but this does have some implications into the NFL for the next season. The Big Ten Conference has suspended, or well, not really say suspend. They banned Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh from from coaching from the sideline, or just being on the sideline, basically coaching for the rest of the regular season at least. Obviously, this was amid the sign stealing scandal that has been growing in prevalence ever since the beginning of the season. Obviously, Harbaugh was suspended the first couple games, but honestly, the implications that come here is, if the conference, or if Michigan does suspend him long term, let it be at least a year, then there is growing speculation that Harbaugh will just take the leap and just come back to the NFL. Obviously, we know he did kind of make it seem that he wasn't going to come back after the Niners gig, and I mean, he did almost join the Vikings after they ended up going with Kevin O'Connell, but he kind of did just say that he would stick it out in Michigan, just to appease to them. But you got to believe, if he gets the offer and if he gets the opportunity to coach in the NFL again, he's going to take it. So we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, Michigan is appealing this sideline ban, and we'll see what more comes from this.
Yeah, this is one that's been going on for a while, especially with the speculations with him. I actually kind of looked into it since it started, the allegations started going through. And I mean, we did have a pretty small chat about this yesterday, but pretty sure most likely, if his suspension isn't for the season, which you would kind of expect it to be, especially with the cheating allegations, but I would say he's probably gonna stay with Michigan. And finishing out with the final news is Kyler Murray. He will be making his return to the Arizona Cardinals today, starting today. We already had this talk at a Bean Talk. I'm not really a fan of this move, really. I mean, the Cardinals, they really have nothing to lose. They really have no playoff implications at stake right now. They're 1-9. There's really nothing to go for from here. Starting Kyler, I think it's just putting more risk. It's potentially being him more injured, especially with that horrible ACL injury that he finally overcame. But not really much to say here. I mean, yeah, it's good that Kyler's back on the field and finally getting to play football again. I know he's been anxious to get back on that field, but honestly, I'm not really liking this move, especially him risking his injury, and the Cardinals not really got anything going for them this season, other than probably, I would say, just rest him for the rest of the season, and hopefully get him some weapons in this draft. All right, that's going to wrap up the news segment. Pretty good takes to talk about, but not really that much. So let's move on right on to our fantasy teams. Our teams will be right up on the screen right here. So, as for me, my fantasy team, it's finally looking well after, 2 years of having some atrocious-ass teams. Looking very well. Obviously, my MVPs so far is CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. So, looking very well right now. Obviously, don't want to repeat. So, two new star players I'm really gonna help me today is Joe Mixon and Kareem Hunt. My running back room this year, it has not really been, living to the expectations I really expected it to. For some reason, every year, I pretty much just get unlucky with the running backs. I know I picked up Nick Chubb, but, with his injury earlier in the season, which kind of hurt me, and I had to pick up some waivers. So hopefully Joe Mixon and Kareem Hunt, they can give me some pretty good decent yardage, especially with how lackluster my running back room can be. But, Joe Mixon, he's been having a resurgence, so hopefully that can be well. And then, obviously, throwing that into my Cowboys defense. We're playing Giants today, hope not going to be too cocky, but just pointing out the obvious. This should be a big game for them, so like how they did in the beginning of the season, the first game, they got me 30 points. They got 30 points in, I believe, in, first half already. So the defense is going to be one of the main reasons why hopefully get the win today, especially going against, one of the league members who, are 2-8, I believe. So it should be a pretty kickback win for me, hopefully.
Yeah, let's hope. I mean, knowing your luck, yeah, you never know. Can't get too ahead of yourself. But obviously, last week, we didn't even mention, but we did go head to head, and it was probably the worst week for my players. I mean, every one of my stars seemingly had to have an off day. But now, I mean, we'll end up seeing. I have half my roster on bye, so there's gonna be a lot of moving parts. You'll see, here on screen. With Tua out on bye, I'm gonna have to roll with Jordan Love. I see someone I picked up in my Diggs trade, and I mean with his matchup, it's the Steelers. It does worry me with that Steelers defense, which not too much as a whole. Is how much is TJ Watt gonna get to him? So I mean, we'll see. He's my best option, so we'll see how much production he can get me. Also, rolling with D-Hop as with Puka on bye, honestly, the production he's given, I might as well start rolling with D-Hop from here on out. We'll see what production he gives here, but looks like I'll be sending Puka to my bench. Gus Edwards too, who I just picked up on a trade, with my top guy and Raheem Mostert on by. Definitely gonna need to make some moves. So, once Mostert's back, I'll probably send Madison back to the bench. And closing out, my big piece, Kelsey. He's on by too. So, bringing up Cade Otton. Hopefully, he gives me the numbers he gave on just definitely a generational game last week against Houston. So, hope for the best with definitely a waiver warrior type roster today. And of course, that'll move us right into cash or trash. Last week we were right back up on quarterbacks, and Christian definitely was my week once again. Tied it back up to 9-9. It was looking dicey at first. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sure, I had a pretty nice lead with Jalen Hurts, but I believe he was up at least 10 on Josh Allen when that final drive came, and Josh Allen got 9 points in that drive, so it was looking close. I mean, they did look like they might get the ball back, but they didn't. So I did end up just pulling out a narrow win on you there. And on trash, I mean, 2 mediocre games, but of course, when Bryce Young threw 2 pick sixes and another interception, you can definitely see why I ended up pulling it out there. But of course, onto the week 10 picks, we're going back to running backs, and obviously, third time around, Pickens are going to start getting slim. So. For me, I mean, there's still a pretty big name out there. With a favorable matchup, I'm gonna have to go with Derrick Henry. We can easily see that the Bucs defense is probably one of the worst in the league. We see how, I mean, sure, CJ Stroud, he's great in his own, but the Houston offense just picked them apart in that last drive, and I feel like I see a lot more of that to come, and with a resurgence of the Titans of sorts, we'll see how Will Levis can lead and pick apart this defense. But I really do feel good about Derrick Henry here. And for trash, I'm gonna have Javonte Williams. This one also speaks for itself. I mean, he's had a pretty mediocre season, and to look at it that they're playing the Bills, which I know we always run the narrative that the Bills defense is a little I mean, not a little, it's pretty underwhelming. So we just to consider, I mean, we'll see, if the Broncos come in. They definitely have the potential to, play up to someone's caliber. We saw in that Chiefs game, but I really do think it's going to be somewhat of a little resurgence for the Bills, at least in this game. And I expect Williams to have a pretty subpar game.
Yeah, so with my picks for my cash pick, this is one running back that I was, planning to go for earlier when we started with the first slate, but I'm gonna go with Bijan Robinson for my cash pick. Arthur, obviously this could be, come back to bite me, but obviously with the reports of Arthur Smith saying that, they're gonna get him more involved in this game, especially against Arizona, and we see how depleted they are now since they got rid of Dobbs, since they're not really gonna be able to pick up in the games anymore without him. So if Arthur Smith stays to his word and actually uses Bijan and finally opens up why they drafted him in the first round, I expect a pretty big game from him, especially how great he's been doing for the beginning of the season. So hopefully Arthur Smith keeps his word on that. Then for my trash pick, I'm gonna go Devin Singletary. As you were talking about the Houston Texans, which he just show how good he is. Pretty sure they're gonna rely more on the pass game. Their run games haven't really been picking it up lately. There's some games where it does good with Dameon Pierce, but obviously he is out, so that's why Singletary will be getting the starting position today. So not really expect much for Devin Singletary. I know he was a player that had some bright hopes with the Bills, and hopefully was going to be one of the next top running backs in the league. But obviously, he depleted. His career has been regressing just a little bit, so not really going to expect a big game for him. Hopefully, he doesn't go generational after I pick him, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, honestly, you can see why you make those picks there. I mean, I know good and well about Singletary, having him on my roster last year. He was pretty on and off, so we'll see what kind of day he has here in this Texans offense. But of course, that is going to wrap us up for week 10. Obviously, already up bright and early with the ending of the international series with the Frankfurt game. Gonna get a lot more into this, into Wednesday's video. But obviously, we're gonna gotta say, obviously our appreciation for the support. We've definitely seen it grow bit by bit. Hope to see it grow even more in the future. But thank you guys for all that, and hopefully you guys can stick around for the next couple videos.